Aloha, like they say in Hawaii. Welcome back to your Benchmark 6A Chi-Squared classwork example. All right, we're going to get started. You're going to be doing your Chi-Squared test. Pay very close attention because you're going to do it with me and then you're going to do your own variables, which you have looked at. So, you guys are a great class. You're doing a great job. So, let's get this thing going. All right. So, we're going to start off with the research question. Is there an association between smoking regularly and highest education level? What do you guys think of that? Right? You always want to make your prediction based off what you know. Remember, there's an explanatory and a response variable. Remember, the explanatory variable explains the response, or the response is a response of the explanatory. So, which one is explanatory? Smoking regularly or your highest education level? Um, Now, we're going to say that your education level is going to explain you smoking regularly. And some people think the other way, but we're going to go with the education level because your education level is going to explain if you smoke regularly. You want to put the add health name, the numbers, and the letters, things like that. These are actually categorical variables, which is a good thing because we know how to deal with those. So obviously this is going to be what we call a cat to cat connection. All right. And so when we have categorical variables, two categorical variables, we're going to use what we call a two-way table, which you did the previous class, and we're going to use what they call the mosaic plot to view both of these. Okay. Here are all of your code. You might have to change the way forward to my folder because this year we used my folder or wherever your data is stored or housed. The first thing we're going to do is rename and collapse all of our variables. So if you look here, all of the different education levels are kind of it's kind of too many. So we got eighth grade or less, we got high school, we got high school graduate, vocation school, some college, finished college, some graduate, things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make four levels. We're going to do no college diploma, no high school diploma, college degree, and then graduate school. All right. And so we're going to look at this and we're going to say, we're going to clean it up, take all the um, refuse to answer, and I don't know. We're going to take all of those out like we usually do. And we're saying if it's two, put it in one. If it's all of these, put it in three, and so on and so on. All right. And we're going to format it. So we're going to have one is no high school diploma, college, and then anything greater than that, master's degree, PhD, law degree, professional masters, all of that is going to go in the graduate degree um, column, and then we're going to format all of the variables and go for there. So let's go ahead and run all of that. Cool, and you have two really nice frequency tables. We see most people are saying, yes, I do smoke frequently, regularly, and then about 30% say they don't. Uh, Most people have high school, college, and graduate. So it looks like that. Cool. And you're going to paste those right in here to make that really look really nice. Uh, then you're going to go here and you're going to make a graph of variable 1, and you see I wrote some things there. You're going to make a graph of variable 2. All right, so let's go here. Let's scroll down. All of this code is there. So because it's two categorical variables, we have two bar graphs. You could put two pie charts if that's what you would like, and we're going to go from there. All right. Cool. So we're going to describe, yeah, most people are going to be smoking regularly in this data set, and then most people in this data set, which are adolescents, or what they call adolescents, from 24 to 34. Obviously not what we consider adolescents, but I guess in 2018 or 2008 rather, this is what they were calling it. So you're going to put those nicely like you always do and do a great job. Put your variables there. Talk about it. Twice as many people smoke regularly than they don't. The spread is 40%. Cool. And now we're going to go into the code for our bivariate graph. So what table should we use for categorical to categorical connection? We're going to use a two-way table. I'm going to put the table there. Based on your table, does there seem to be an association between the two variables, which is smoking regularly and your highest level of education? So we're going to go back to our code and we're going to just run our two-way table here. I took off no column percent so you can see that. All right. So if we look here, we're going to put that in there. And when we look here, high school. So what it's saying, if there's association, that means that there's a difference between the different education's level and who smokes regularly and who does not. No association means it's the same across the board. People, whatever education level you have, you smoke the same way, or it's distributed the same way. So if we look here, high school, people who do not have a high school degree, about 87% of them smoke regularly, 12 don't. Okay, cool. High school, do you see how that's going down? 75% smoke, about 25 don't smoke regularly. College, that's going down, not almost, but close to 50-50. Then you go into graduate degree. People who have master's, PhD, and above are smoking regularly about 40% of the time and 60 are not. So is that an association? Does there look like an association? You should probably say yes, right? There is a difference. People who don't have a high school diploma tend to smoke more regularly than people who have college degrees or greater. Do you see that? There is an association, but that's the two-way table, right? It's not statistically significant yet. So we will go ahead and put that, and you'll talk about what you see and give me a college answer. Okay, well now let's look at the graph. What graph are we going to be using? The mosaic plot. All right, so let's go back to our code and we're going to go to our mosaic plot and we're going to go here and you could see what we just saw with the percentages but in a nice graph. Cool. So is this across the board 50-50? No. You can see high school smoke a lot more regularly. Graduate people who have completed a graduate degree do not smoke as regularly as non-high school, or what we would call non-educated, but that does not mean you're not educated. We're talking about certified, you finished your paperwork, your coursework, educated. All right, so hopefully you can see there that there is an association between your college, your education level, and if you smoke regularly or not. All right, cool. So now, based on both the graph and the table, tell me, does there seem to be an association? And reference the table. Give me percents. Give me categories. Give me columns. Give me rows. Look at the graph. Talk to me about the table and the graph and give me a clear explanation on what you think, if there's an association or not between the two variables. Cool. Next, we're going to do the chi-squared test for association. All right. Uh, we like the chi-squared test for association. Number one, because the null and alternative hypotheses are very easy. Okay. So the null is always going to be, remember, you have to prove there's association. So the null is going to be there is no association, all right, between uh, highest education level, and I need to charge my computer up. Hopefully I have time. Education level and smoking regularly. Let me make sure that that's what my research question was. Okay, cool. So now let's go back here. So the alternative is going to be the opposite. Okay, there is an association between highest education level and smoking regularly. All right, cool. So now we have to see if it's statistically significant, right? So we're going to do a chi-square test. All we're doing is just adding this chi-square at the end of our frequency table. So like I said in the last one, we really like this because there's a frequency, because everything is coming off of proc freq or proc frequency. So we're going to go here and we have all of that, and this is what we're looking at. And as you can see, we have about 3 chi-square tests. We just want to use the first one. The p-value is extremely low. We love p-values that are extremely low, right? Because that tells us something very clearly. All right, so cool. We're going to put our p-value here and we're going to compare it. So obviously you can see that the p-value is less than any alpha, 0.05 or 0.01. Doesn't matter. That's why we like the low p-value, because that tells us right what to do. The p-value is less than alpha, therefore we reject the null hypothesis and accept the alternative. So that tells us that we have strong, so if I was to write something, I would write, because our p-value is less than our alpha, we reject the null hypothesis and accept the alternative. What does that mean? That means we have very strong evidence that there is an association between a person's highest education level and smoking regularly. All right. On your final thoughts, well, what is that association? Well, that association, and this is not your final thoughts, my wrap up is people who have less than a high school diploma tend to smoke more regularly than people with graduate degrees. So as what is the association? As a person education level increases, their ability or they're apt to smoke regularly decreases. So there is an association. The more education you have, the less likely you are to be smoking regularly. All right. So get that in, make it look nice, give me some college answers, and as they say in Hawaii, aloha.